So I'm Mrs. Oliver. This is Deep Run High School, and these are our AP Research students. They are part of the Capstone program. So this is their second year in the program. Today we are going to do a little bit of data dating. So they are at the part of their research journey where they are trying to draw meaning from the data that they've already gathered. So by Friday they will sort that data, and then next week start to analyze it. All right, so just to be clear, the why, what we're doing today, hopefully you're going to use this activity and then your reflection of this activity to find patterns and trends in your data, ultimately to connect it back to the research question. Because remember that for the academic paper rubric, in order to get the 5 in this area, I've highlighted it here on the sheet that you already have, we have to make sure that we are working actively to address that new understanding. That's your goal in all of this. But in doing that, it's not enough just to say, like, here's my data, here are my conclusions, this is what I found. That would be supporting it. But to justify it, we have to show, here are my conclusions, and this is why I arrived here. Like, this is why I thought this. And so being able to make those connections is going to rely on the fact that you're able to relate the findings that you find with this data to prior findings in the field. So this is where, and we've talked about this the whole time, is that you have to be able to circle back to that literature review. So those of you that kind of found, oh, I've got sort of a weaker lit review, it might be challenging to bring that data back. So we've got to make sure that we can make those connections. So as you are sorting your data, you're thinking about the end game. You're like, this is what I'm trying to get to, and so this is how I have to sort my data to connect it that way, okay? The other thing here is you have to explain how your data helped you arrive here and how far that it can be applied later. So that's where we're gonna get into like the limitations and the implications. We'll talk about that later. But as you're talking about your data today, also think about the parameters, okay? Like, I can say this with my data, I can't really make this connection. That would be a leap, okay? But maybe future researchers could, right, if they did this and this. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about your data, how you're going to circle back to your gap, how you're going to circle back to that research question, and most importantly, how you're going to circle back to the findings in the field, okay? So we're going to continue with our data dating. Just as a reminder, the directions for moving. You'll spend about 8 minutes at the seat where you are now. You'll be partner 1. Remember, if you are facing the board, you're partner 1, so facing this way. And partner 2, you're facing the window. So partner 1, you'll go first with each of the questions. And then partner 2, you'll get the second half of the 8 minutes to discuss your data and get some feedback. Now, once the 8 minutes is up, we will move, and I'll remind you how to move around the room. We'll do 2 rounds of this before we get to the reflection. Thank you. All right, so keep in mind that while you are discussing your data and getting feedback from your partner, that you are writing everything down in the reflection journal, even if it doesn't seem meaningful. It might hold a lot of meaning next week when you're starting to put everything together. So any suggestion you get, any thought that comes to mind, any insight, make sure that you're recording it. It does not have to be organized, okay? Just has to be something that you're considering. All right, now the directions for dating, make sure that you have access to the students' data. So go ahead and have that up on your screen so that as they are discussing their data, you can follow along, because visually that's going to be helpful. And then always feel like you can pop in and ask questions if you need some clarification, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my timer up here. Okay, all right, so the first task here, you're going to just introduce yourself to your partner. After that, partner 1, so remember partner 1, you're facing the board. You're going to discuss your problem or issue that you discovered in your initial research in that literature review. Discuss your gap briefly, what it is you're trying to fill and circle back to, and maybe your research question or hypotheses if that connects in some way. Partner 2, obviously your job is to engage during this 1-minute discussion. If you need to ask questions, you can, but just listening, okay, to really understand where this person needs to go, okay, with their research. All right, everyone ready? Take a second, introduce yourself first. All right, get ready for a fun date. I mean, we all want to talk about data on our dates, right? All right, here we go. And feel free to eat the candy too while you're discussing. Maybe it'll help you out. All right, here we go. 1 minute.
So my gap in my research was good. I looked at my one I noticed that usually,
Two, and then I don't know. You can jump in. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. Maybe each of you take a little bit longer than the other groups. Okay, so if y'all have to take longer, that's fine. Maybe you won't move to the second round. All right, task 2. For this part, after you've kind of discussed what it is you're trying to find, now I want you to discuss your data. Remember, partner 2, you're looking at the data as partner 1 is describing it. Okay, go ahead and get started. 1 more minute.
This is like all the survey that I did. And so basically did it like split into like sections. And like one section of
I'll give you a chance to finish up. We're going to build in like an extra minute at the end of this because we have a group of 3 today. So we'll make sure that they have time to participate as well. All right, so for our next task now, in addition to just talking about your data now, I want you to discuss any meaning that you kind of gathered from it so far. And this is really an opportunity as well for partner 2, if you haven't already done so, to kind of jump in and be like, oh, well, I thought this was interesting. Have you compared this yet? So anything that person maybe hasn't considered, or just engaging with them in this conversation about their data and the meaning that they found. Okay, 1 minute.
Like the ratio, yeah, women to men. So
All right, since most of you are already kind of at this next step, partner 1, or partner 2, I'm sorry, please make sure that you're providing feedback to what what partner 1 has just described in terms of their data, maybe what they weren't thinking about, or any other thoughts that you have about this. So another minute to keep discussing, and then I am going to tack on an extra minute at the end just to give this group, or maybe extra 2 minutes, to give this group a chance for everybody to be able to participate, okay? So I'm going to do 3 on here. Go.
So have you thought about, like, for every model, if you were to make like a scale, but like, so at the start, it's rated out of 5, how good it was at interpreting the data, and then at the end, like after the 5th response, you rate it again out of 5 at how good it was, and then you do that for every model regardless of their size, and then you can compare like the different sizes and also like the amount of data that they collected, how good they were.
It's like the I don't know, I can't understand what I'm doing in school, and then where it talks about how they like stress about their grades. So I feel like I would kind of sort that into one category and like kind of questions like that, and then kind of
to then be able to have like a overall like which one's most favorable.
Like when you were
So I don't
doing your
know.
initial research that showed differences.
I also don't know how to show this like on my papers. Like I don't know what way. Like this one, I think I'm gonna do a graph for like bar graphs for the
Okay. I wonder if you would. Like, there's a big difference between a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there's some research that kind of shows the differences there that maybe your data could loop into. So for you guys,
I got most of my things. It takes so long to get everything. I have to sort like each of those things takes like an hour to do, and I have 15 minutes. It's like, it's rough, yeah.
we still have some data to compare.
It would be great once I'm done with everything. It's just like getting there.
Okay, because that's how
I like your title better. The bubble thing.
Right, that makes sense. And like their opinions are obviously valuable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I feel like that's really good if you like put it into like a visual data source, because that like helps me visualize. Yeah.
Make sure you record everything in your journal, so as you're wrapping up your conversation, jot down anything before we switch roles.
Oh, one is that.
Make sure you record everything in your reflection journal before we switch roles. All right, so now it is partner two's turn to share. So we'll continue this same process. Partner two, start with the issue, the problem, what brought you here, your gap, research questions, hypotheses, etc. Okay, I'll go ahead and take us back down to 1 minute. Go ahead and get started.
What I was originally looking at was so I babysit and I've had kids, so I'm very interested in like kids and like food and fast food a lot. So I started looking into like this and a lot of this like food that's sold across the U.S. as well as the EU. There's been studies that show that there's higher preventive.
Okay, so now partner two. You're going to discuss the type of data you collected. I heard some of you already kind of jumping to that. Make sure you do spend some time talking about your gap and stuff too, though, so that they can really help to make sure you're filling it or give you some suggestions for circling back to it. So make sure that you do that. We're going to start that in just a minute, right? Thanks so much for watching our class today. Hopefully you got a glimpse into not just a typical class here at Deep Run High School, but also our AP Research class. Thanks so much. All right. Okay.
Because the levels are in database,